up, Carrie? How you doing?
Good evening, Carrie. W3MMR.
Oh, warming everything up. Now you guys are coming in. Good evening, Perry. Hope you got my email last week.
Yeah, I got it the night of. I missed it, and Clark pointed it out to me. I missed the memo. So anyway, I am live streaming at the moment, so the normal YouTube, so just search Ladies Night 5.0 or the AM window on YouTube. Y'all should be able to find it. Good evening, everyone. Phil and the missus and all the other misses. W3 of them are.
That's awesome. Thanks again, Perry, for your dedication to this event. Pretty awesome. Alright, so Phil's here, and Jennifer's here, warming up. And who else is going to check in for Ladies Night? I believe it's 6.0. I think we're at 6.0. KC2UFU. Okay. Need to go come in after a little bit. I did kind of throw a monkey wrench in the works. This was supposed to be last week. Hope Karen made out okay with the party. I know the weather was horrendous. I'm sure everybody's been dealing with that same nasty, hot, and humid disgustingness that's been plaguing us. Felt more like the end of August than it did mid-July. Got a little break, but now, of course, we have whatever that is coming up the coast there, whether it's going to be a hurricane or a tropical storm or whatever. But we're here in any case, and static crashes, they can't chase us away. So would anyone else like to check in for Ladies Night? KC2UFU. All right, very good. What's been going on with you, Miss Jennifer? I haven't heard from you in a while. I know you guys went away for a little bit. Had a little vacay. Tell us a little bit about that and what you've been up to. W2PHL KC2UFU.
W2PHL. Hi, Carrie. Glad to hear you. Yes, we were at my in-laws' house, actually. So they have a house in another state, so we go up to visit them. We weren't able to see them during the time of the virus, obviously. So now that things gotten better, that we were at least able to see some family. So we went up to see them for the weekend. Nothing much, though. There's not too much else to do. Taking walks. I'm still working, so going to work and just hanging out, I guess, like everyone else, thinking about what I'm not doing. W2PHL.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I mean, we've been pretty okay in our area. I know down south they're really getting hammered now. Which I guess is to be expected because, it's going to make its way around. What have they come up with as far as for your schools up there? Are they doing like the choice of like the remote learning or like the half days? I mean, there's so many different ways. We have here actually 2 school districts in one town. We have like the elementary school district, and then we have the high school, which is its own district in itself. So like the elementary school is doing something completely different than the high school is doing. I really feel terrible for the kids and the parents, because I imagine, like what if you have kids in elementary school and you have kids in high school? There's like all these different rules going on, and I don't know if if any of it's going to work. But I imagine you've been working double overtime trying to sort all this stuff out.
Got you.
W2PHL. Yes. Well, the mayor just made an announcement, I guess Friday, that we are going to open up schools for blended learning. We also, high schools are a separate entity, but we're all still part of the same, big New York City district. But we all have different plans depending whether you're high school or elementary school or middle school, and you're right about the parents. So, the governor hasn't made a decision yet, so it's been a regular thing where the mayor makes a statement and then the governor says, well, he can't do that. So I guess we'll see what's going to happen going forward. But right now, the mayor made a statement with the chancellor saying that we are going to be open with the blended learning model, and I think that's what you're also doing in your state, if I'm not mistaken. W2PHL.
Yes, I think that is what they have going on. Bill, it sounds like you might have a little bit of RF in the signal there. I'm not sure if it's just because you guys don't have any fading, but I hear there's a little something going on there.
Well, all right. I know there's other people in here, but let me just double check here. No, I think what you're hearing, Kerry, is actually on.
Yeah, that's your guys' friend W2BTK doing that. He's been doing it for the past 45 minutes, and I got it all on recording, so it's that's your guys' buddy, so W3MMR.
Nope, that's okay. They'll come along. So, I wanted to tell you guys a funny story. I know you love these stories. Because these things, I swear, they only happen to me. And tell me if you've ever had anything like this happen. So the other day, I go to ShopRite. And the ShopRite by us, I don't know if it's just something with all ShopRites or whatever, but ours is like a complete insane asylum. Like, it's always super busy. There's other supermarkets around, but ShopRite always I guess they just always have the best deals or what it is that makes people flock there. It's always crazy. Anyway, I had to go there to get a couple things, and I had run to the dollar store that's right next to it and grabbed a couple things that I needed, and then I walked down, got my cart, and you have to pay $0.25 to get the cart. I don't know if you guys have that, but that's how they get you to return the cart. You know, you have to stick a quarter in there, and then when you return the cart, you get your quarter back. Anyway, with the whole change situation being what it is, you know, with the lack of change, I really haven't had a lot of change on me, so I really had to dig through my purse, which is like, I don't know if it's really a purse or a briefcase, because I don't know how I get so many things in there. So I finally find a quarter. I'm successful. I can get my cart. I can go in the store and get what I want. I go in, and as soon as I get in there and wipe down the cart and everything, I'm like, oh, you know what? I gotta use the ladies' room. Let me do that first before, you know, I start going through the store or whatever. So I have my cart and my purse and my little bag from the dollar store, and I leave my little bag in there, and I park my cart right by the bathroom, and I go in with my purse. I'm in there maybe a total of, I don't know, 2 minutes, 3 minutes, as long as it takes to go, you know, and then get out, wash your hands or whatever. I come back out, and my cart is gone. Gone. Just, like, I'm standing there for a minute going, no. Nobody would take my cart. That's ridiculous. Who would take somebody's cart that's parked next to the bathroom? Nobody is that, you know, rude that they would do that. And I'm looking, I'm like, maybe somebody moved it or whatever. I'm looking around. It's nowhere. And as I'm looking around, I see, like, the bathroom is right by the bakery there. So there's, like, this little shelf, you know, where all the baked goods and stuff are. I see my dollar store bag sitting there. So somebody went in the 2 minutes that I was in the bathroom, took my bag out of my cart, stuck it on the shelf, and took off with my cart. When I tell you that I, like, saw red, I was almost ready to, like, go up to the courtesy counter and tell them that, you know, I wanted to look at the videotapes and see who stole my cart. And, like, as I start, like, walking over there, I'm like, that's ridiculous. They're going to think I'm completely insane that I want to know. There wasn't, like, I had any valuables in it or anything else like that. It was just my cart. I was so angry. And I had to go back outside and dig back through my purse again. And I could not find a quarter to save my life. So then I had to go back inside the store, go to the courtesy desk, give them 2 dimes and a nickel so that they could give me a quarter so I could go back out and get my cart and go do my shopping. I mean, I don't know about you. I'm still blown away about it. Like, how ignorant can you be to steal somebody's shopping cart that's parked next to the bathroom that has stuff in it? What do you think about that, Jennifer? W2PHL, KC2UFU.
W2PHL. I'm laughing because Philip can't get past the fact that you have to pay a quarter for the cart. He's like, wait, but why do they have to pay for the cart? What's the point? Yeah, I'm like, oh my God, but that's not the point of the story. I can totally understand where you're coming with that. I have had the same thing happen to me in Target. It was the one of the people. One of the store people decided to put my stuff away. I can't imagine why. Again, not in there that long. And I actually, I'm looking around the store, and I find a woman, like, and she had put most of my stuff away. I'm like, what are you doing with my cart? And another time in Target as well, the same thing happened. And then I was, again, furious. And I could not find the cart, and I had to go and get all the stuff again. But I will tell you the truth, it was me, because what happened in the end was I found my cart with the stuff in it. So that's a little embarrassing. So I went around furiously getting stuff, going, I can't believe this happened again to me. When it did not. It was just me who had misplaced my cart. Yeah, whatever. W2BHL. But I'm sorry for your experience, Carrie. I'm glad, I'm glad at least you didn't lose your dollar store bag.
Yeah, I mean, it was just the principle of it, is that you had to actually go, see that there was stuff in the cart, take it out, and I wouldn't even been, you know what I mean, it was dollar store stuff. It wasn't even that big of a deal. It was just the principle. And yes, I went through the rest of the store, like looking as if I would be able to identify my cart. There was nothing else in it except for the sale paper. And I'm like, a couple other people I saw shopping around, women I saw shopping around, had, you know what I mean, sale paper. I'm like, I wonder if that's my cart. I'm talking to myself the whole time. I'm absolutely serious. They're like, okay, that lady didn't take her meds today. Let's go the other direction. Over to you, Priscilla. K1GTX, KC2UFU.
Well, Carrie, that is mega frustrating. I don't know what I'd do in that situation. That has not happened to me, but Wes is telling me that it happened to him at Home Depot. I have had people put my things back when I've been trying things on, and you can only bring so many into the fitting room at a time, and then the things that I've been saving to try on afterwards have disappeared, and I've had to go reshop. So that's frustrating, but nothing quite like having somebody steal your 25-cent cart.
Yeah. And normally, you know what I mean, it wasn't like I was that far from the door, but it was just the principle of the matter, and the fact that I could not find another quarter just, like, infuriating me as I'm, like, muttering to myself, standing outside, like, ripping through my purse, trying to find another quarter, talking to myself. I'm sure everybody thought, like, I had just, you know, that they had just unlocked my straitjacket and let me loose into the neighborhood. But I just can't believe people. And, I don't know. And yes, Phil, we have to pay most stores, they have the locking system where you have to pay a quarter for your cart. I guess it's to save on expenses of having, you know, cart people, I guess. I don't know. Or it keeps you from, I don't think it would really keep anyone from stealing a cart, like walking off with it. Like, who cares? You pay a quarter and you would take the cart anyway. Maybe it's just a Jersey thing. I don't know. Anyway, anyone else want to check in to Ladies Night? This is KC2UFU.
KB3OUK.
Well, hello, Miss Sarah. How are you?
Oh, I'm here. It's been a heck of a day. Shelby, he had the radio warmed up and ready to go, and then I was trying to check in about 15 minutes ago, and our amp died, so luckily he had a spare one that he had dug out of the trash from work, and so he just rigged that up. We're working now, and I have a screaming, teething 6-month-old, so I'm kind of going crazy. KB3OUK.
Oh, the teething time. That's gotta be the worst. I was thinking about that not too long ago. I had a toothache, and I was thinking to myself, it was actually one of my wisdom teeth that had to be pulled, and I'm like, how do babies survive that? Like, the pain is so terrible. Imagine every one of their teeth is rupturing through their gums. So terrible for them. Oh, but way to go, Shelby. All right, way to be on the ball and have some backup stuff. We're proud of you. Good backup. I have been out too, and I came in late, and Ken already had the desk cleared off and everything ready to go, and was just hoping conditions were okay, which they seem to be. Good man, Shelby. Good man. Anyone else like to check in? KC2UFU. Okay. Well, we're definitely glad that you made it here, Sarah. You ever have any strange experiences in the food store? Ever have anybody steal your cart?
Not that I know of offhand. I can't think of anything like what you were talking about, but it reminded me, my grandmother, my mom's mom, she has to, like, everywhere she goes, flea market, grocery store, anywhere store that has shopping carts. She has to push a shopping cart through the store with her, regardless of whether she buys anything or not, but she has to lean on it, and she walks fine, you know, like she doesn't use a walker or anything, but every time she goes into like a store or anything, she, you know, whether she's buying something or just in a flea market looking around or whatever, she always has to use a shopping cart. So that's the only thing that came to my mind. KB3 OUK.
Yeah, I guess I'm not going to get over it. Because I thought I was, you know, it happened like a week ago. But yeah, it still makes me mad. Just that people are just that ignorant. I don't know. It's just crazy times. It's absolute crazy times. And you would think with everything else going on that you wouldn't want somebody else's shopping cart, you know? But whatever. I'm trying to get over it. I'm doing my best here. What are you doing as far as your little one there? No, I don't think we know her name. What is your daughter's name?
Her name is Andrea Joy, and Andrea was my mom's twin that she didn't make it. She passed away like 2 or 3 days after they were born. And then Joy is my middle name and also my mom's, so I passed that down to her. And I gave her Tylenol, and I am like at my wit's end now. I mean, today was bad enough. She didn't get her nap this morning, and then after we ate lunch, she was just, I couldn't get her to settle down, so I said, hey, can we get in the car and like take her for a drive and see if she'll take a nap? This baby does not sleep through anything, like hardly at all, so it's awful. But so she did sleep a little bit in the truck, and then we came home and she was okay, and then we left again, and then I think she slept. But it's been an uphill day, I'm gonna tell you. And I don't know what more to do. I mean, I have those like teething things you put in the freezer and they get cold. She doesn't want them. She doesn't want a cold washcloth to chew on. She doesn't want a nurse. She doesn't want much of anything. So she knows the word Tylenol. I asked Shelby to get me a Tylenol, and that perked her up a little bit. But she is just so fussy. KB3 OUK.
Oh man, that's a rough one. And she's just 6 months, so they're just starting to break through. So I think I used to my kids, I used to let them chew on it was a bag of cold peas. You know what I mean? Like, of course, I clean it off and everything else like that or whatever. But for some reason, I guess because the peas moved around or whatever, they got some relief from that. And then they make those Pedialyte pops or whatever, which are, you know, safe for babies and everything else like that. Those things came out, I think when my second son was born or whatever, and those were pretty good. Any advice there for Sarah, Jennifer? Any ideas? KC2UFU.
W2PHL. It's funny, Sarah, my heart goes out to you because Carrie said, oh, teething, and I thought the exact same thing at the same time. I was like, oh, no. You know, you have these moments, and, you know, we all do the same things. It's the same thing. I just, I think about it, and I think, well, I remember, like, when my first child, my second child, didn't sleep through the night for over a year. It was up, like, pretty much every 2 hours. And I remember my husband saying, remember, with our first child, we thought this wasn't going to end, and, but it did. And, you know, that gave me some hope. It's true, you know, when they're crying and they're teething, and you just think you're so tired. And, you know, when you're so tired like that, you're like, I can't do this. Like, what am I going to do? This is just like, oh, my goodness. You just feel like it's never going to end. They're never going to stop crying. They're never going to stop teething. But it does end, you know. This too shall pass. So that always gave me comfort to think, okay, I can make it through this. It's going to work out. But I think you're doing everything you can, and I know that you're doing it right, and it will work out. W2PHL.
ahead, Sarah.
I have a shopping.
Oh, Priscilla, I'm sorry. Whoop. Hello.
I have a shopping cart story, but it's full of deep regret. My daughter was getting pretty big for shopping carts, you know, the special ones they have with steering wheels, and they're extra large and they're very hard to push around. Well, she was getting kind of big for those, but she would have just barely squeezed into one, and she was determined to go into one of those little car carts that day when I was at the shopping mall, the grocery store, and I said, no, we're just going to be in and out. We just want one thing. I have a hard time pushing those carts. So I really didn't want to get involved in that. And so she was crying and, you know, really, it tugged on my heartstrings. And I said, no, we're just going to be in and out. And then I shopped a little bit, and I probably should have let her, considering it was like probably the very last time she'd ever fit in one of those carts. Should have let her just have her way, but I didn't, and now I'm full of deep regret. So my advice, having nothing to do with teething, is to let your kid go in a shopping cart as long as you can.
Yeah, unless they're like my sons, who are now 24, 21, and 19, and I made the mistake of going to the store with them one night. We went to Walmart, and they were all trying to get in the shopping cart. Actually, they offered to put me in the shopping cart. That was their next thing. First, they were trying to get in there. Then they offered to pick me up and stick me in the shopping cart because they figured I could fit. Of course, I declined because there's no way I was letting them push me around the store. Oh, kids are crazy. It's so crazy, and they grow up so fast. I feel like, you know, I just remember them being little. So it's insane. You know, 1 minute they're teething, and the next minute they're arguing with you about what they're going to wear, and, you know, or where they're going to go, or who their friends are, and then next thing you know, they're out of the house. It happens that quick. It doesn't feel like it at the time, but it really does. Would anyone else like to check in to Ladies' Night? This is KC2UFU. Okay, just checking. Speaking of kids, though, did you ever... I don't know exactly how to word this. Did you ever say something that you never... words that you never thought would come out of your mouth, whether they were like, you know, something like your parents would have said, and you're like, oh, I'm never going to say that to my kids, or something like that. Like, for example, I have like a list of things that I have said over the years to my kids that don't really make any sense unless you put them into context or whatever. Like, for example, one day I had to tell my middle son when he was about, I guess he was about 6 or 7 years old, and he was wearing a pair of sweatpants, and they were guys' sweatpants, so they had like little, you know, spots to like, you know, in the bathroom, you know, it had like the fly or whatever. And he was walking down the hallway with our dachshunds in his pants. And he had the dachshund hanging out of the hole of his pants. And of course, right out of my mouth is just like a normal, like it was just a normal thing that happened all the time. My girlfriend was sitting there, and she's watching him walk down the hallway with his dog, and I go, will you please get the dog out of your pants? Do not put the dog in your pants. Like, who thinks they're going to say that? When you're, you know, thinking about having kids and everything else, and you're like, oh, I'm going to be like this, and, you know, my kids are going to do this, and so on and so forth. And instead you're reduced to saying things like, please take the dog out of your pants. I don't know. Over to you, Jennifer. W2PHL, KC2UFU.
W2PHL. Well, it is true, and we say a lot of things we don't expect, and I was a teacher, too, so, you know, you're just like, you know, chalk is for writing, not for eating. So these are the things you never think you're actually going to have to say to people, but I have to be honest, you know, off the top of my head, like, the things that come in my head are things that I really can't say in the air or in front of my husband. He'll just be, like, too embarrassed, but there are, you know, those moments where, you know, you're having those talks with the kids, and, you know, you're trying to be cool, but also a parent, and, you know, you're trying not to have them have any, like, you know, hang-ups, but also, you know, you want to be strict, and, you know, you just come out with the wrong thing, and you're like, oh, no, I didn't mean to say it that way. I had my daughter screaming once, going, I need to get out of the car, you know, laughing, screaming, and crying at the same time. So, you know, those are the moments, but, you know, we think you're right. We think we got the book. You think you're going to do it right. You have so many thoughts about all the perfect ways you're going to raise your children. And we also have a 22 and 24-year-old, and you're just like shaking your head. You're like, oh, I missed that, or oh, I didn't do that right, or oh, they didn't tell me how to deal with that when I read the book. So what can I say? You know, we do the best we can. Back to you, Carrie, W2PHL.
It's really all you can do. And I know a couple of months ago, my 21-year-old was sitting on the couch, and my 24-year-old was doing, I don't know what exactly it was that he was doing, but it was something dumb, like just something like he shouldn't have been doing. I don't know if he was like jumping on the couch or standing on the couch or like looking out the, I don't know what he was doing, but my 21-year-old Jacob goes, oh, I just had a moment. And I go, what do you mean? He goes, I just felt like the inner parent in me that I never knew was there. He goes, I just wanted to scream at Brandon, get your feet off the couch right now. Like, he goes, it almost surfaced. It almost came out. He goes, and I knew it was like such a parent thing to say. So I kept it to myself, but he's like, man, was that close? I'm like, see, it all rubs off. You guys think that I just talk in circles and, you know, that at the time it's just annoying, but in the end it does sink in, that's for sure. Over to you, Priscilla. K1GTX, KC2UFU.
I'm trying to think of a scenario. I'm sure I have one. I just can't think of it right now. My daughter has been subjected to many things because of me, and I think she's had a difficult time when we've had people over the house. And one time she tried to use the litter box, the kitty litter box, because she didn't feel comfortable waiting for the bathroom. And that was a big embarrassing moment. I can't remember what I said, but I think I said, you really have to use the bathroom like a person. I don't know what else to say. I'm at a loss.
Oh, jeez. I'm glad it's just not my kids. They do some stuff that's just absolutely, there's just no words for it. There really isn't. And, you know, I had 3 boys, so I don't know. The Lord didn't see me fit to have any girls. There must have been a reason for it. Maybe I just probably couldn't have handled the drama end of it. I don't know. But those boys, they kept me so busy. It was just absolutely. They're all like 2.5 years apart. Just kind of happened that way. So it's like you would get one just, you know, into pull-ups, and then you had 2 in diapers, or you get one trained and then one in pull-ups and then one in diapers. It's just like, wow. Just I still remember that, that's for sure. So, see, Sarah, piece of cake, no big deal. Go ahead, KB3OUK, KC2UFU.
Yeah, you make it sound so easy, and I'm here, and I just, a few minutes ago went out, turned on the TV, put on Lawrence Welk, and laid her down, so maybe the music would kind of help. No, it didn't, so I sent Shelby out there. I'm like, hey, just try to keep her from screaming for 5 minutes, because I'm just like, I'm like, okay, I don't know how people have, like, multiple children, because right now all I can handle is the one. And I'm like, yeah, I keep questioning if I want more. I mean, I love her to pieces, but it's like when you're the mom, you know, you do everything, and I'm like, I'm so jealous of the dads who can, like, sit back and just chill 90% of the time. Oh, man. KB3, are you okay?
It's okay. It'll pass. It really will. But it's also okay to give yourself a timeout. Like, and just, like, when you feel like that and you're just, like, you're at your wit's end, it's okay, and you don't have to feel guilty about giving yourself a timeout, because we all need it. Otherwise, you just get to that point that you're just, you know, like how you feel today. You're just like, all right, that's it, take over. Kenny was always great with that. Like, he could tell when I was at my melting point, and he would just send me to the store or ask me to go get something or whatever. I mean, he worked, when the boys were young, he worked like 14-hour days. So, because we had our own oil company, and he'd be out in the truck, you know, for 8 hours, and then he would go and do all the services and stuff like that. So, a lot of times he wasn't home, but he would come home dead tired, and he would just see me, and he would always say to people, like, I wouldn't trade jobs with her for anything. He goes, I would rather be out in that oil truck all day long. He goes, because as physically tired as I am, she looks like she's been run over by a bus. I guess, you know, he'd probably come in and I'd have, like, peanut butter and jelly, you know, hanging in my hair, and I'd have no idea that it was even there. Because those are those kind of days where you're just like, you know what? You know, baby throws up on your shirt, and you just look at it, and like, all right, you just wipe it off, and you just keep on going. So, there is hope, and there is light at the end of the tunnel, and you'll see. She'll get through this stage, and then it gets to, like, the really fun. I love, like, 1.5 and up. Once they really start to really understand you, and they start talking a little bit and everything, that's always a lot of fun. And then, you know, they get to the point where they're, you know, you can start showing them things, and, like, everything is new to them, and they're, like, constantly, like, little sponges. So, I'm sorry to hear Lawrence Welk is not working, because I know that's your go-to for her. So she really must be. It's probably her ears, too, because it always seems like those two go hand in hand, you know, teething and just their ears bothering them so much. So I feel for the poor little thing. You can only do what you can do. So let's see if any other ladies are here to join us. This is KC2UFU for Ladies Night. Just wondering if anyone else wants to join in.
Good evening, ladies.
Well, good evening.
This must be ladies' night. Hello, everybody out there. This is KD2AFL, the glass from the past, and you all sound good. And I just turned the radio on, and I'm just gonna listen in.
All right. Well, it's good to hear you, Daryl. You got a nice signal this evening. Not to change the subject, but real quick, have you brought the present, your transmitter home yet? Just wondering.
It's due, like, September, I don't know, October, but it's two of them. One goes to North Carolina, and one comes here. So, no, and she's upstairs, and I'm not going to mention it again. I'll wait till around the end of this new month. So, and transmitter should be almost cooking.
Well, I'll know. Let's see, now at least you gave me a time frame, so I'll know now, like, we don't hear from you for a while in September. Might get a little worried, that you're living in your transmitter somewhere on the street, but hopefully not. So it is good to hear you. Where was I going with this? It's not that many of us, so you think I'd be able to keep track of it, but I can't. Let's pass it back over to you, Jennifer. You got anything you want to talk about? Like, I know, here's me just throwing you on the spot here. How about that, KC2UFU?
W2PHL. Yes, my husband's whispering in my ear. I was actually thinking when you were talking about the children growing up, because I was thinking about Sarah and Andrea Joy, and you were saying how they have great age. It's true. I loved it when the children were young. I was always telling them, don't get older, because I loved having them. I loved them for so long. And then, my daughter hit, I guess around 9-ish or so. And girls are no fun at that age, from like 9 to 14. You're like, it's okay, keep going, keep getting older. But then Philip's in the background talking about how our second child, because she cried constantly and had to be picked up constantly and didn't sleep at all, that she was the reason we didn't have those. But that's not true. So, she did not. So she didn't. So, Sarah, I know it seems like you can't have more. It worked out. It all works out. But anyway, what were you saying you want to have, like, what's the best meal you had? Really, some people...
I'm all about food.
Yes, it's interesting. He was talking about, he's like, I wonder what everyone's best meal has been recently. What's the best meal that you've had recently, whether you've gone out or you made it at home or you ordered in. But it's interesting because some people, they talk in food, like there's visual people, there's auditory people, there's kinesthetic people. But it's funny, I read this whole book about certain people. My oldest child is actually, if you say to her, how was the conference that you went to? She went to a conference. And she'll talk to you about the food that they serve for lunch. That will be the first thing she'll talk to you about. She won't talk to you about the conference. So it's interesting how some people are, food is a real issue, and that's people, their whole life is oriented about the food and what you get food. So Phil is very interested about the food that everyone is enjoying, that as he has his popcorn. So I guess what kind of great meals have people had recently?
What did you have?
Oh, what did I have? I have to say what I had. Sorry, I'm not used to this. I would say we went out to a restaurant where I had a scallop salad. Outdoor, obviously, there's no outdoors, only outdoor seating here. So we went to a restaurant and for the first time a week or so ago, and we had I had a salad with scallops on it, and it was amazing. So, W2PHL, back to you, Carrie.
Very good. And actually very interesting, because that's what I was going to tell you. We're very fortunate, like right where we live, here on the Jersey Shore, and especially Long Beach Island. We have all the scallop boats in the northern end of the island, in Barnegat Light. That's where they call it Viking Village, and that's where all the scallop boats and the fish boats go out and everything and come back in. So we can get really, literally, right coming off the boat. There's a seafood market right in the village there, and this stuff is coming off of the boat and going into, a container and then going into the store. So the other day, I really had a hankering for scallops. And they're the nice big sea scallops. So, everybody here, except for my one son, there's always one in every crowd. He's my super picky eater. We had a nice scallop dinner, and then they had like stuffed clams there and stuff that you could buy at the market. So just had a nice spread of like some different fish and clams and scallops and stuff, and we made it all here. I like my scallops. I usually saute them in garlic and butter, which is like probably the worst thing that you could saute them in, but they're just so good that way. I love it. That's what I've had most recently. That was absolutely out of this world. How about you, Priscilla? K1GTX, KC2UFU.
K1GTX. We had wok and roll pretty recently that was absolutely delicious, but last night we had some food from Mike's Roast Beef. I had baked lasagna, and Wes had a roast beef sandwich. We ordered a bunch of little appetizer-y things. I had broccoli and cheddar bites. Oh my god, those are so good. It sounds weird, but they're deep fried and they're delicious. Oh. But Sarah, I wanted to say about, it just seems like they grow up so fast. I remember when Melissa was really young, I went to the Salvation Army to look for some clothes for her, and my biological father's wife came up with a size 2T little Scotty sweater, and I said, oh, she'll never fit into that. That's way too big. And she said, no, it's going to go by so fast. And I didn't listen to her, and boy, did it ever go by so fast. Oh, it's so sad. But when they get older, they have other things that make up for the lack of the little one part of them. But I do remember Melissa, when she was 1.5, saying, we were talking about we were going to the island of Martha's Vineyard. She kept saying monkey fingers, and I couldn't understand what she was saying. Then it finally dawned on me she was saying Martha's Vineyard, but in the way she only knew how to do it. Monkey fingers. I think that's really cute.
Yeah, that's the kind of stuff that sticks with you. They're little things that they say or do. And in fact, me and Ken say all the time when we're eating something that's sugary that we know we shouldn't have. My youngest son used to have this thing where he said if he was eating something sugary, he'd be like, but Mom, Dad, it's sugar. It's good for you. He just happened to be walking through. So Ken and I'll joke still to this day. I mean, he was maybe 3 years old, and we'll be eating something sweet, and I'm like, come on, it's sugar, it's good for you. So that kind of stuff makes it definitely worth the while, that's for sure. Over to you, Miss Sarah, KB3OUK, KC2UFU.
I love that story, Carrie. And I just stopped out of the room for a second because maybe like an hour ago I'd given her some Tylenol, and then it hit me as I'm sitting here listening, and like the mom part of your brain that never turns off, it says to me, wait a minute, she's older now and you can give her more Tylenol than you have been. So I'm like, oh, show. And I go out and I'm like, hey, we've been giving her the lowest dose. Now we can, you could give her a little bit more. So I had to go step out for a minute and do that. I love that story about the sugar. That's adorable. But, yeah, I guess our best meal, we haven't been out too much. But last night I did bring home takeout. Shelby's been having a crazy week at work. They've been scheduling the amount of work for 6 people, like the amount of service calls that, 6 people could handle. They've been scheduling that number for, 3 people, because they have, one guy is at Greece, he's visiting his family in Greece right now. Their manager is on vacation, and then there's another guy that he's on, light duty right now from a heart attack. So, but anyway, so with all that, last night I stopped. I had gone to see my mom and took the baby, and then on the way home I stopped and got dinner and brought home and didn't have to cook, and so that was pretty nice. And the cat just decided she wants to join me. So, oh yeah, we're having a fun evening over here, and let me just tell you, I miss Ladies Night, KB3OUK.
That's right. It's Ladies Night / Sanity Night / De-Stress Night, whatever you want to call it. But that's that's what it's all about. Definitely. So, what was I gonna say? Oh, as far as you know, the kids and everything, it's just amazing. I mean, I'm kind of like, you know, I have boys, so, you know, I don't want them to like just go run off and get married or anything else like that. But I am kind of excited at some point to have some grandkids, and you know, that's how we pay our kids back for all the crazy stuff that they did to us. We just reflect it back on, you know. I used to take care of my niece a lot, and she has a 3-year-old, and she comes here a lot, and she pretty much runs the roost here. And you know, within reason, we let her do pretty much whatever she wants. You know, she's got Play-Doh and Barbies and everything else all over the place. But I do enjoy her, and it gets better, and the memories always way outweigh, and the funny little things that they do way outweigh the teething and the colds and the all that other stuff, you know. Like, you can always remember, like, especially if you have more than one, like, one gets sick, and then, you know, like, they'll just be getting over it, and the next one gets sick, or sometimes they all get sick at the same time, like you get the stomach flus or something running through the house. We had one time a particularly nasty stomach virus that came through, and it was in the summertime. It wasn't even in the winter, so like came out of nowhere. I don't know. I think we got it, you know, my sister's kids came down with it or whatever, and I can remember both me and Kenny going down at the same time with the stomach flu, and the kids had not gotten it yet. And the two of us were doing the best that we could to try, because nobody wants to come over and help you when you have a stomach virus, and you can't blame them, because nobody wants a stomach virus. So like a cold or something like that, or you're under the weather, or you have bronchitis, you know, then, you know, my mom would come over and maybe scoop up the kids and give you some relief. But when people hear the word stomach flu or stomach virus, nobody wants that stuff. It's like everybody seals their doors and they're like, oh, best of luck to you. You know, I hope you guys get through this okay. But I can remember both Ken and I, like, taking turns, like, laying on the bathroom floor, and he would be, like, on the couch, and I would be on the bathroom floor or whatever, and we would just, like, switch places while we had, you know, a 5-year-old, a 3-year-old, and a, like, 6-month-old, all who were healthy at the time and not getting sick, running around. Like, I'm surprised that nobody got hurt. I really am. When stuff like that happens, you think you're never going to get through it. Of course, you know, once we started to get better, they all got sick, so it was just a terrible time. But here I am today. I didn't think I was going to make it through, but here I am. Over to you, Jennifer. W2PHL, KC2UFU.
W2PHL, you're killing me, Gary. I'm dying laughing because you're so right. You get the stomach virus, everyone's like, good luck to you. Yes, that's so funny. We've been through those times. I got the flu when Elena was 6 months old or so, and, you know, I'm trying to nurse her, and, you know, and Phil's like, oh, you think you could pick her up? I'm like, no, I have the flu. You know, you have that. I had temperature, and then we did get a stomach virus altogether, like all in the same year. It's like one of those years that, you know, we got sick, I started a new job, it was crazy. But, you know, it all worked out. Again, Sarah, it all works out. But yeah, we all got the stomach flu, and you know, I'm like, you know, I actually wake up and I can't even make it to the bathroom. Now it's like all over the place, it's all over the floor. I got to clean it up, you know, it's just like craziness. You know, but we did make it through. I remember my sister actually was a sickness, which is like somebody who once they start, they can't stop. And, you know, we're talking like the 70s here. So, yeah, and she actually had to be hospitalized regularly. She would dehydrate. So she had to, it feels like in the background, oh, that's disgusting. So for me, it's like, you know, when the kids were young and they would, you know, throw up or whatever, you know, I could handle it. It wasn't like a flavorful thing. Again, as a teacher, you know, I had friends who would be like, oh my God, someone threw up in the classroom. And I'm like, watch my class, I'll take care of it for you. I'll get the wipes. Because by the time the custodian came, everyone else would be throwing up from the smell. So, you know, I was the go-to take care of it person. Not that I enjoyed it, but I could deal with it. But I remember when, I think the first time, like, Elena was old enough, and she just, like, threw up, and maybe it was the same stomach virus where she just, like, she was fine one second, and then she threw up, and it, you know, it just went across the room. You know, it's projectile vomiting, whatever. And it was like, oh my God, it was like her head spun, and it just came out, and she was so taken back. And I was, you know, like I said, I had experienced these things, but, you know, you learn these things, so, you know, it's like you learn a lot about yourself. And I was actually thinking about that. I was actually thinking as you were talking, I'm like, you know, I wonder, you know, with all this craziness and stuff, it's like, what did everyone learn about themselves with all this chaos going on during all this quarantining? I know for me, like, I realized that I definitely, like, I always thought that I could work in an office somewhere, and I realized I am definitely...
The frequency is in use.
In an office. I definitely need to work in a school with children. But lots of changes. W2PHL. Back to you, Carrie.
It is. Yep. Yeah. You know, or they walk up to you and they're like, "Mom, I don't feel so good." Boom. It's amazing. Goes across. It is kind of gross, but hey, you know what? That's parenting and that's life. You're lucky if you have a husband that has a good constitution. My poor sister, I felt so bad for her. She had 4 kids, and her husband had like the weakest stomach. Like, he's like this big, burly, you know, 6'2", 270 pounds, you know, he could, like, go hunting and gut a deer and, like, all this stuff, but if it came to, like, sickness or kids being sick, she actually one time had her youngest son came in and told her that he didn't feel good, and he got sick, and her husband was standing there, and immediately he got sick as well because his son got sick. Could you imagine that? Could you imagine that, Jennifer? Like, if you had, like, your kid getting sick and then your husband got sick right next to it? I think I'd kill him.
W2PHL. No, I couldn't. But, you know, you have to remember, you know, Phil was trained in emergency response, so you know, I always knew, like, if there was a real emergency, he could handle it. So most of the time, there was one time where he freaked out, but never with the vomiting. W2PHL. Back to you, Carrie.
So see, sometimes we're lucky. Over to you, Miss Priscilla. KC2UFU.
Well, I feel bad for my parents because we used to take vacations to Delaware and Rehoboth, and we'd rent with some cousins a small condo, and somehow at the worst of the season, the bottom floor would get sick with a virus and have a 24-hour bug, and it would travel all the way up each floor. It was 3 floors of the condo until the 3rd floor, which is where we usually were. And then my mother would get sick, and I would get sick, and my dad would get sick, and we'd all be vying for the bathroom at the same time, trying to hold it in and spewing it out. And oh, I feel bad for my parents. but somehow we managed. A little bit gross, but anyway, that's my story.
Yeah, I mean, not the best topic in the world, but it's life. It's the facts. Kids get sick, parents get sick. Like I said, the worst was when we got sick and they weren't, because that was just insane. Nobody, with nobody for backup. That was like they probably could have done just about anything but like juggle knives. It was like, all right, we know where they are. Give them noisy. What do you want? What do you? Oh, you want Jello? Okay, here, have Jello. What do you want to eat? Oh, you just want. That's fine. You want cookies for dinner? Whatever. There's days like that. Some people might be, oh, that's terrible parenting. But listen, when you're sick like that, you could care less as long as everybody leaves you alone, because you really just don't feel good. So, see, Sarah, better days to come. KB3OUK, KC2UFU.
Yeah, I'm really appreciating that. I sent Shelby in to give her a bath, and I can hear the screaming from the bathroom, and I'm not sure what's going on, but I just keep wondering, those Duggar people on TV, they have 20 kids. How in the world do you do it? Or twins, there's twins in my family, and I'm not opposed to having twins, but I just don't know how you do it. I can't do anything with just one. Because my baby doesn't sleep, it's very hard to get her to sleep and then to lay her down and her stay asleep and then for me to actually accomplish anything. My mom talks about how when me and my siblings were babies, she talks about how she could go vacuum and do stuff in the house while we'd be asleep, and I'm like, how in the world? Because all I get done is nurse a baby, get her to sleep, and then I have to, usually hold her when she sleeps, because she is the world's lightest sleeper. So any noise, she wakes up. It's just crazy. But anyway, that's where I'm at right now. And this has been, Ladies Night has been helping my spirit a little bit tonight. KB3OUK.
Well, good. That's what we're here for. We're here to help. And probably terrify you a little bit, for what's in store. But then also tell you all the joy that's involved as well. So, it has its ups and downs. I don't know how I wound up with 3 children, honestly, because my first son was born and he had colic. And he had colic so bad.
Oh, how'd that come through?
Where this child never slept, except during the day. Eventually he would just, come being up.
Uh-oh. Hello.
He would eventually fall asleep during the day, but I had to work. So that didn't really work out for me. I really thought there was times that I was like, I can't, I'm tapping out. I'm tapping out. I can't do this. I'm not fit to be a mom. It's not in my, And then, my mom or my sister or whatever would come to the rescue and then give you a little break or whatever, but Yes, it will. Even in the so just remember that. Remember that we're telling you tonight that even though she's in the bathtub right now, screaming her head off, this too shall pass. Over to you, KD3OUK, KD2UFU.
Y'all don't know how much I appreciate this right now. Like, I could cry. It's just been one of those days, like, I felt like 10 times today. I felt like I could just, like, cry at any moment, and, it's one of those things, like, she is just one of those babies that does not want, she just wants to be held all the time. She doesn't want to, she sleeps pretty good during the night. But like during the day, if I get her to sleep, most of the time I can't lay her down, because she just, then she realizes, oh, I'm not being held anymore, and, and then probably part of that is the fact that I, let her sleep with us in the morning, because, well, I figured, at least we're going to get some sleep that way, so I'm going to have to at some point change that, but otherwise it's just, fun. So, yeah, needless to say, I mean, I honestly, I never saw myself having kids. I was always like, oh, I don't know if I want them. And then we decided but now it's like, I love her more than anything, but, teething, I feel like my hair is turning gray as I speak. KB3OUK.
Well, I hate to say this, KC2UFU, Sarah, but your hair probably is turning gray as you speak. I know you're young, but I actually have names for my gray hairs, and depending, because some of my kids were more difficult than others or whatever, so my oldest one, he has a whole section that's his, I'll call that my Brandon section or whatever, and then a couple Jakes here and there, and then a couple Garretts, but it does, but it's definitely worth it at the end of the day, and you just got to take that deep breath and remember that you will get through it, because we're all here and we're all telling you our war stories, and we're still here. We're not, although probably the other day when I was in the food store and I looked like I should be in a straitjacket, I never actually wound up in one, and that's the important part of the lesson, is that I never wound up in the straitjacket. Even though there's days that you really feel like, 3 hots and a cot sound really great. You're like, you know what? Maybe just a little rest. Maybe that's all I need. And give yourself that time out. And of course, you're lucky. Shelby's there to support you, and he knows when you're about tapped out. So it's all that you could do. And on the subject of the Duggars and stuff like that, that's what I was going to say before. My mom was one of 9 children. And my grandmother said to me, and I was young at the time, I was maybe 11 or 12, and I have 26 first cousins on my mom's side. And we would always get together, we would vacation together, and I was thinking about that because you were talking about that, Priscilla, everybody going on vacation together, and we would wind up all at my grandmother's house. She had a house down the shore. We all lived in northern New Jersey, and we would come down to the shore just like everybody else and go on vacation. And she had a house in Bricktown, and there was one bathroom in the whole entire house. And you would have, so you had maybe say 7 out of the 9 aunts and uncles or whatever, so there you go, there's 14 adults right there, and then all the kids just all over the place, people sleeping on the floor, there was just bodies everywhere, and those were some of the greatest times. But anyway, my grandmother said to me, because I said to her, I asked her, I said, how come you had so many kids? And she said, well, sweetie, she goes, I will just say this, that after 3, you stop counting. It doesn't even matter. If you have 3 children, you can have 8 children, or you could have 10 children, because 3 children doing, multitasking with 3 kids at any given time is no different than multitasking with 6. And I guess she knew what she was talking about. She had 9 of them, so imagine that. That was the good old Catholic, what did they call that? They had a name for it. I can't think of it right now. The rhythm method. That was it. Yeah, that worked out really well for the good Irish Catholics. They all had kids. 8, 10 kids in a group. I couldn't imagine that though. 3 was definitely my limit. Over to you, Jennifer. W2PHL KC2UFU.
W2BHL. Yeah, you're killing me, Carrie. You're right. Everyone goes gray eventually. I think it's beautiful that you went down and was, did all that with your cousins and your aunt and everything like that. That's not something my family did, and I think that's really nice. I actually wanted more than 2 children. It just doesn't work out that way. But it's funny, as Sarah was talking, I was thinking about, Sarah, don't second guess yourself. As a first-time mom, I was always, listening to other people, and, I had maybe some family members who were specifically into telling me how I should be doing this or doing that, and I remember my oldest child, and they're telling me, you should do this, and you should give him some formula, and this and that, and at that time, Philip was actually working, more than one job. He's out late, and he would, not be home, and a lot, he's working a lot of hours, and I remember at one point they're telling me, because she wasn't sleeping through the night, but like I said, our firstborn really didn't sleep through the night for maybe, I don't know, I'm going to say 8, no, I remember now, specifically it was 8 months. But our oldest, it was over a year. Youngest was over a year. So, and I remember though they told me to do the soy formula, and I remember now it's 4 months, and I haven't slept, and I'm back to work now, and I remember, and she's screaming and crying, and I actually took the formula and went out to our porch and threw it, and luckily it didn't hit anything. It went into the garden, but I threw it into the street because I was I can't take this anymore. It just and I realized at that point, I'm not listening to anyone. And by the second time, I didn't listen to anyone. I actually just said, I'm going to do what I have to do. And we did we did not sleep because my youngest daughter did not sleep through the night. We actually set up a mattress next to her crib. We had to move her out of we only had 2 bedrooms, so we had her in the room with our oldest, but that wasn't going to work. So we had her in the family room, and we put a mattress on the floor in the family room because Philip is very tall, so the 3 of us weren't going to work in the bed. So we put a mattress so that once she started crying, I would just sleep on the mattress because there was no way I was going to survive if I didn't sleep. And I remember telling the doctor, I think I want to jump out the window. He just looked at me, and it's old-fashioned. They're just oh, she's just a woman, she's over dramatic, but so you see it like Carrie said, you are getting gray, but that's because everyone gets gray eventually, so don't worry about that, and don't second guess yourself because I was going to say I'm embarrassed that I had to sleep with her, but you know what, I did what I had to do, and now she's a productive citizen. She's doing great at her job. I would like to brag, my daughter is a published author. She did research in college and in a lab, and she is the 2nd author on a research paper. We are very proud. She just found out a few days ago in a peer-reviewed journal. So see, maybe sleeping with her and nursing her every 2 hours worked out. So Phil's laughing. You like to believe it's all about you, but maybe it's not about you at all. But anyway, it's don't worry about it. I think that's what Carrie's saying too. But I love your story about the family. We tried to do a lot of things as a family too. We didn't do it with extended family, but we always made sure to do a lot of things with the immediate family. The 4 of us, that was a big thing. Whenever we could, we would take the kids away just for a weekend. Even to just a hotel to go swimming in a pool, just to really spend that time. So that was nice. Back to you, Carrie, W2PHL.
Yeah. And as you know, like family vacations can be, they're not really when you're the grown up, when you're the parents, and you take the kids on vacation, and you decide to drive somewhere or do something. It's yet another challenge to test your patience, because even just the prep work of getting everything together, and getting the kids ready and making sure that you have everything because you're going to go, travel out of state, or you're going to go camping, or whatever it is that you choose to do. Like, as a mom, not only are you trying to, do your everyday stuff, but you're also prepping as you go along. Oh, this one. Oh, that's right. Like Jacob, we always had to pack more clothes for him than the other two kids, because he was my, his nickname when he was little is we called him like Pigpen from Charlie Brown, because if there was dirt within a mile radius or a muddy puddle somewhere, this child would seek it out, and he would find it, and he would fall in it or play in it or whatever. It's just like he was a dirt magnet. So he was either, rolling in dirt or mud or whatever, or, dropping food all over him. He was just like my messy Marvin. So it's like how you have to think each kid, needs this or that, and then some of them, my one son, he was asthmatic, so it's like, okay, got to make sure you get everything packed. I think by the time we would get into the car and go to wherever we were going and get back, even though, there was those great moments that you had with the kids, like either taking them to the zoo or whatever it was always worth it. But you would always just be so exhausted by the time you came back, and I would always make the fatal mistake of not giving myself like another day. You were like always pushing everything to the limit, so you're like, all right, we're going, Friday to Sunday night or whatever, and then I would have to go to work that next day. So needless to say, like all the dirty clothes or whatever, that everything that was in the suitcases, they would probably sit there for like at least a couple of days packed up. I'm like, they're sealed in the suitcases. What are they going to, as long as we don't run out of clothes, it'll be fine. I'll get to it eventually. But, always worth it, but crazy going on vacation with kids, because you just never knew what was going to happen. Over to you, Priscilla. K1GTX, KC2UFU.
K1GTX. Yeah, my mother was so stoic. We went on that vacation to Rehoboth, and in Delaware we picked up a dog, thinking my mother would really like this stuff. Well, she wasn't really crazy about the dog. The dog ended up throwing up the entire roof home and onto our grandparents. And my father actually managed to injure himself because of the dog. He went down to check on the dog late at night, and he went down to the first floor from 3 floors up, and he slid and scraped his leg under a stair rail and scraped the entire skin off of his bone. So he dragged himself all the way back up 3 flights and yelled to my mother, "Joanne, come here! Joanne, come here!" And of course I knew this wasn't going to be good, so I just kind of hid. And my mother said, "Oh my God! Oh my God, Bernard!" And he was bleeding. He bled all the way up the stairs and all the way back down as they brought him to the hospital. He needed stitches. Stupid dog. Anyway, this vacation was also punctuated by a missing hermit crab that I had as a pet. They got lost and got wedged in between the fold-out couch and somehow barely escaped with its life as it gnawed out of a wooden pen that was in. I don't know how my parents did it. I don't have a similar story for having vacations with my own child, but I do have that as a result of my traumatic childhood.
That's okay. Well, you do. That is one thing and I think everybody can agree on is that I was one of 3, and our parents did their best to take us on vacation and do stuff with us or whatever, and I was the kid that always got hurt on vacation or whatever we were doing. For whatever reason, I don't know why it was always me, but it just always was. Like, my mom tried to keep, like, a better eye on me. I guess I was awkward, clumsy. I don't even know what it was, but I must have, almost driven her to insanity because it never failed. I always found a way to hurt myself in some kind of freak accident, like somebody shut my hand in a door or something like that or whatever, and she would have to take me to the emergency room. And I think about all that stuff now, and I'm like, and I have thanked her over time, when we were talking about something. I was like, you know what, Mom, you did not have it easy. You really didn't, because my dad worked a lot. So she had us, and she was a stay-at-home mom. But my God, we definitely ran her through the loop. And I think about that now, and I'm like, it just comes back to the fact that you will make it. You definitely will. As hard as it seems now, it's worth it in the end. And I saw something on Facebook the other day, and I'm wondering if I know, Sarah, you won't know what it is, because you would have never had to deal with it. But Priscilla and Jennifer, you guys might remember. Jennifer, do you remember mercurochrome?
I don't think so.
W2PHL. Phil's like, yeah, you remember it. But actually, my family we used Saratoga ointment, which, I don't see anymore, but basically it was like a zinc-based ointment. And honestly, you put it on, and it took care of everything. W2PHL, back to you, Carrie.
How about you, Priscilla? Have you ever used or had mercurochrome used on you?
No, that's not ringing a bell. With my daughter, it was Dexatrin all the time. Dexatrin for everything.
All right, well, my grandmother, I don't know if it's just because she was old school or whatever it was, but I'll just tell you, Sarah, mercurochrome is exactly, if you listen to the name of it, it was mercury and chromium. 2 things that now are things that you should not put on your body. You're not supposed to. They said mercury is poisonous, and I don't know about chromium, but it doesn't sound like anything that you should have put on you. But that's what my grandmother, they would sell it. It was, as an antiseptic. And basically, I equivocate it to Satan's spit, because when they would put that on you, oh yeah, it would, sanitize, your cut or whatever, and you would completely forget about your cut, like what actually happened, because the burning on your skin would take over any other pain that you were feeling from your fall or anything else like that. It got to the point where, we wouldn't tell her if she was watching us. Like, if we fell and scraped ourselves or whatever, it made us tougher. It made us tougher kids, because, before, you fall, scrape, like, oh, I have a boo-boo or whatever. No, not when my grandmother was watching. If she was watching us, we could have, basically almost had a limb fall off, and we would not tell her, because the first thing she would do was come out with the mercurochrome, which is like I said, like Satan's spit. So there's things that we've survived that are now taboo. They would never do, or use that anymore. And we're still here. And I think probably even my kids, there was things, I know Caro syrup was one of the things that you would use when your baby had gas or gastric upset or whatever. And now they're like, oh no, don't use that anymore. I mean, they were fine. Nothing ever happened to them, but what are you going to do? It's all live and learn. But what I was going to say is Jennifer is right, is that you always go with your gut. It's okay to ask advice of anybody, but nobody knows your baby like you do. And believe me, you know her in and out, even better than you probably think you do. And you will find a way around this teasing thing. You'll find something. It's going to take a little bit, but you'll find a way around it. KC2UFU, KD3OUK.
Yeah, so I actually know what mercurochrome is. I actually heard of it. I want to say, did it come in a bottle with like a little brush?
Oh, yes, and it was bright, like a red-orange, like, oh.
Yeah, because I don't know if... See, my great-grandparents, I remember there being something that when we would get hurt, they would put on us, and I don't know if it was that, because that would have been like late 90s, I still had with back then, but yeah, I have actually heard of it. And you were saying about, you know, that stuff and the pain level and stuff. Well, I have two stories. So I have a story about, like, pain, you know, like that. When I was about, I don't know, maybe 5, 6, I was walking my sister's dog one day. We were on a walk, my mom and dad and sister and me, and the dog, and I wanted to walk the dog, and my sister actually let me, which she never did. And so the dog sees a rabbit and drags me down the road and skins up my knee, and there's blood everywhere, and my mom thought my leg was probably going to fall off or something, and wanted to take me for stitches, and I was, like, very determined, like, no, I'm not getting stitches. So, you know, but I healed. But that, you know, I remember for nights then afterwards, you know, she'd stand me up in the bathtub and pour peroxide down my leg, and my leg just felt like it was going to burn off. It was horrible. And then I also have a vacation story. So I was maybe 4, and we went to the beach one year, and I actually got lost. And they brought down lifeguards and told them, you know, what I was wearing, what my swimsuit looked like, and so they had everybody out looking for me, and lifeguards found me, and they said, you know, oh, are you lost? And I said, yeah. And they took me to one of their little lifeguard stands. Well, you know how tall those things are. When you're like a little tiny kid, it's really intimidating. Think you have to like climb up on top of that thing. And I said, well, I'll just sit down here on the sand and, you know, wait for my parents to come. They said, no, you're getting up on top of there. So they like put me up there, and then I had to sit, you know, 10 feet off the ground and wait for my parents to get there and rescue me. Take me through your UK.
Oh, wow. Yeah. Well, I don't even think it's when you're little. Like, lifeguard stands still are really tall to me. Maybe because I'm incredibly short. I don't know. Things are up there. Oh, yeah, kids getting lost. That will give you gray hair. I had my middle son. His personality was, he was a very, very super friendly kid, which was great, but not great at the same time. Like, no matter how many times you would tell him, you know, you'd have the discussions of, like, stranger danger, and, you know, it's okay to talk to people as long as mom and dad are there, and they say it's okay, but don't talk to people on your own. Like, he was just such a free spirit. He just would always talk to everyone. And we took the kids to, like, one of those water parks that they have. I don't know if it was, like, Great Adventure, or I think that's... and we were in, like, the big lazy river that, like, has all the tubes inside of it, and he was popping up and down inside the tubes, and he disappeared. Like, I just lost sight of him, because there was, like, so many tubes in the water. Like, he was there 1 second, and then he was gone. And you want to talk about getting gray hair really, really fast. So as soon as, like, he wasn't accounted for, you know, you're in this big river, and there's only, like, certain places that you could get out. So I had to, like, you know, wade through all these tubes and everything to get up and find somebody, you know, that had a uniform on. And I, you know, of course you're, like, at this point you're, like, hysterical that you can't find him. He was he was 5 years old at the time. I think 4 or 5 years old. And, you know, you have to do this whole thing with this description and everything else. Anyway, to make a long story short, I'm going on here or whatever, they already had him. Like, probably before I even knew he was missing, because he realized that he couldn't see us anymore, and he got out of the water, and we always told him, you know, situation, find somebody that works there, find somebody with a uniform or a flag or whatever. And he just walked right up to them, and they told him his name, and he said that he was lost, and, you know, they were like, we have him already, and I went and recovered him. But that is the, I guess, the right side of my head with gray hair. That's Jacob. That's what he did to me. Sorry, Jennifer, KC2UFU.
Me, I'm lost.
Are you there? W2PHL, KC2UFU.
W2PHL. Well, first, what has to save you?
Oh, no, the fuel pump. So you had that plastic applicator. That's it. The fuel pump would whip up into the applicator, and then Grandma or Mom and whoever was at the helm of that thing would jam it into the front because it had to get down in there. Okay, that's all I have to say.
I'm just going to silence my brains on that. I'm just going to leave it at that. Yeah, it's funny. It's like those stories of, I don't want to scare them. You know, like, you know, we didn't really have issues with kids being lost, but I feel your pain, Terry. Like, as you're telling me the story, my heart's being fast because, you know, I was like, you know, trying to be good with my kids. I was true on Elena once. We were at a beach club in Long Island. My sister-in-law lives in Long Island. Rancho Beach Club, and we were at the beach club, and it was on the beach, and it opened out cool. And so now we're going to go back to her cabana, and which is, you know, there's a bed and you're on the beach. So my oldest child needs to go to the bathroom, so we go into the bathroom. We're going to go to the bathroom. And Elena's going to go, my youngest child is going to go with my sister-in-law because, you know, she doesn't need to go to the bathroom. And now you know, we're literally, it's only a few minutes. We come back, and I say to my sister-in-law, oh, where's Elena? And she's like, oh, she said she wanted to go with me, so I sent her over to you. Now, you know, okay, you think you were hot when your cart was missing? I'm like, who sends? The child's like 3, not even 4 years old. And she's a little girl, little blonde girl with a bright yellow dress. Maybe she was 4, but I don't even think she was 4. And she sent her in a beach club back to, well, that she doesn't go to, that she's just visiting, that she's only been here like once, you know, I mean, maybe the previous year, or maybe it was our first time, I don't even remember. She sends her to go, you know, meet me. Now, of course, my daughter doesn't know where to go because she's 3, and she hasn't, this is not a familiar area to her, and she, you know, gets lost. And I come back, and nobody knows where my 3-year-old is, and I'm like, oh my God, like, I'm like, what? So now, you know, you're trying to be calm, don't want to panic, it's an emergency. Emergencies are not time to panic. You can cry later, you need to be calm. So now I'm running through, but now my oldest child with her cousin, they're running around, and she's like, I don't know, no, she's 2 years old, she's like 6 or so. So, you know, and I'm like, no, you know, you stay in the cabana with, you know, with Aunt Christine, just stay there. And, you know, obviously, I find, you know, Elena, a man had stopped, thank God, you know, an older man sees this young child walking around by herself, looking confused. No, he wasn't wearing a trench coat. It's a beach coat. So he stops her and starts to question, oh, sweetheart, where are you? Now, of course, Elena knows not to talk to strangers, so she's standing there scared stiff. She doesn't know what to do because she's lost, but there's a stranger questioning her. But luckily he stopped her, and at that point, you know, I'm running through this, it's like a maze, you know, it's a beach club in Long Island, so you can only imagine. It's like there's a maze of cabanas and little, like, you know, those steps and those little, like, you know, boardwalk things. Oh my goodness. But it's like a pool and the ocean. So I literally was like losing my mind, and of course Fishy didn't swim yet, and luckily, he stopped her, and because she stopped her, she was standing on me, eventually came upon her, and he said, oh, I'm so sorry, I just want, and I was like, no, thank you. But yeah, these are the moments where you're like, oh my goodness. What am I supposed to do? Oh, he's criticizing me because I'm not making Sarah feel calm. I'm sorry, Sarah, I don't mean to not make you feel calm. But you should feel calm because it all worked out in the end. Again, back to our original point, it all works out. This too shall pass. There are moments where you can be scared. There are moments where, we've had where, kids get hurt. They hurt themselves. They get stitches. Sometimes they break a bone. You know what? And, you get frantic and you're scared, and yet you get there and it's all okay. Back to you, Carrie, WCB.
It all worked out in the wash. Oh, I heard that in your voice, Jennifer, that still makes you angry. That the mama bear voice was still on the edge there when you were like, who lets a 3-year-old go find their mom? Which I felt it for you too. I was like, who does that? So I think you're still carrying that a little bit, but it's okay because she's okay and everything worked out. But I still heard that edge, definitely. I don't know. I don't know what else there is to say except kids are a challenge, and they make you stronger as we make them stronger. That's the only way I could explain it. As much as your kids learn from you, you learn from them because they come up with some things sometimes. That's for sure. Wouldn't you agree, Priscilla? K1GTX, KC2UFU.
K1GTX, absolutely. Regarding stitches, an interesting story is that my mother was getting ready for a party one time, and I decided to use the Tinker Toy box to climb up to reach a Fisher-Price clock that was on a shelf. It was near a toy chest. I tipped over on the Tinker Toy box and opened my forehead along my eyebrow, trying to reach the Fisher-Price clock. Well, I succeeded, but I did tumble down and, of course, hurt myself pretty badly. My mother was upstairs. I was at the bottom of the stairs yelling up to her, Mom, I've got some red stuff coming out of my head. And she took a look at me and was so freaked out she didn't know what to do. She threw a towel over my head and drove me to the doctor with a towel over my head so she wouldn't have to look at me. So there's just things that you do. You adapt and you rise to the occasion and you make it. And I had some stitches.
Oh yeah. Mama boys, lots and lots of stitches. Jacob was, they knew him by the time he was like 6 or 7. Like, they knew him at the ER on a first name basis, because that's what he did. But, yep. Kids, gotta love it. You gotta love all of it. The good, the bad, and you're stronger than you think you are, Sarah. That's, just remember that at that breaking point that, like, I can't do this anymore. You really are stronger than you think you are, because you'll make it through. I don't know, ladies. This has been great as always. Let me pass it over to you, Sarah. KB3OUK, KC2UFU.
And I love all the stories. And Priscilla, yeah, I love that about your mom just throwing a towel over your head so she wouldn't have to look at you. That reminds me, my one uncle, so my mom was one of 5 kids, and 3 boys, 2 girls. One of the boys, he would always look out the front window and watch for Daddy to come home. And my grandmother told me this story a couple weeks ago. And so she had the window propped up with like a stick along the edge of the wall. And somehow the stick got loose and the window came down, and I think it landed on his tongue, and he ended up needing stitches on his tongue. And so, like, my grandmother had to call her mother to come down and watch the other kid. She had to take him to the doctor, and between her, the doctor, and the nurse, they had to hold down my uncle to get him stitches on his tongue. And then, meanwhile, she was trying not to faint, and I just can't even imagine. I'm so glad I had a girl. And if we have more kids, I hope they're girls, because I don't know if I could handle boys. But yeah, y'all have really, I can't tell you how much better I feel just tonight. Your encouragement and stories, and it's needed more than you know. KB3 UK, I appreciate y'all.
Well, we appreciate you being here and letting us be part of it, and letting us pass on our tales of child rearing, both good and bad, because that's basically what it comes down to. There's your good days and your bad days. You're having a dark one right now, but you'll get to the other side of it. She'll pop that tooth through, and she'll get through it. And it's like once they pop a couple of them through, it seems like the rest of them start, they teeth, but it's like that initial getting those first couple ones through is like what makes all the difference, and it like makes headway for all the rest of them. That's the only way I could think to explain it. It's like once they get through, because sometimes, the tooth will start to come through, and then the gums will swell again, and then you're like, oh my God, where did the tooth go? It was through. It was through. So if that happens to you, don't worry. It's just your gums swelling up a little bit, and the tooth really did come through. It's okay. Because I remember almost bursting into tears, thinking that it just wasn't fair, because that tooth broke through. I know I saw it, I know I felt it, and now it's gone. So don't panic if that happens to you. But we're here for you, and I had a lot of fun tonight. We're approaching 9 o'clock. Can't even believe it that we're there. And another great night. Absolutely. I really enjoy you guys. Over to you, Jennifer. W2PHL, KC2UFU.
W2PHL, yeah. Thanks for having me. It was great to hear all of you. Priscilla, great hearing you. I haven't heard from you for a while. I guess I've been out. Carrie, always good to hear you. Thanks for making me laugh. I have to be honest, all your comments really had me in stitches over here. Sarah, best of luck. I know you're doing a great job. Don't worry. W2PHL, have a great night.
Over to you, Priscilla. K1GTX, KC2UFU.
K1GTX. Well, Sarah, you've got a whole lifetime to explore some of these interesting things that happen with children, and I'm sure you will. You'll get through this. And Jennifer, nice hearing from you, and missed you, and it's good talking to everybody. I hope we continue on with this. Thank you very much, Carrie.
Oh, all my pleasure. And on that note, I think we will set ladies' night for Saturday, August 15th. That'll be 2 weeks from now, and we're very lucky with the conditions. So I hope that that keeps up there, and hope everybody is okay and safe. I know not everybody's on the coast, but we have that that storm coming through. Who knows what kind of nonsense that's going to bring, but I see the swath, the storm is so enormous. I think they said 200 miles, so even if you're pretty far inland, you're going to feel the effects of it. So I just hope we don't have anything like we have this, like we had with the superstorm Sandy going on or whatever, like a broken up storm, because of course Monday is a full moon, so you have the full moon a extra high tide and then a storm coming in starting Monday night at 8 o'clock. So we'll keep our fingers crossed. I'm sure when I go to work on Monday morning that will be selling a lot of plywood, because that always seems to be what happens when you're in the coastal region anyway. So as long as it sounds good to you ladies, let me know if you have any conflicts or anything else like that. You could always email me and let me know what's going on. But other than that, we'll shoot for August 15th. Over to you, Sarah, KB3OUK. Hang in there. KC2U love you.
Yeah, Carrie, I hope you all stay safe and no major issues with the storm. And I knew that, in my head, I knew that you were like really close to the beach, but I didn't thought that was like storm-wise and stuff, because it wasn't on my radar. But I hope you all stay safe and no big problems or anything. And yeah, I've really enjoyed tonight, and it's been wonderful hearing everybody. And I feel like this is like a family that I didn't know I needed. So y'all are just awesome and so much older and wiser, and just I appreciate it so much. Yeah, it's just been a great night. Thanks for having me. KB3OUK.
Oh, absolutely. Every time. Anytime. Every time. Anytime. Thanks for hanging with me, ladies. I feel like I got my my therapy, and I was really missing it last week. Like, I was like, oh, really want to leave, because last week was the precipice of the shopping cart incident. I'm like, yep, I'm filing. I actually file things away now in my head. I can't wait to tell the girls about this stuff. So I feel the same way, Sarah. I feel like we're all just friends. It doesn't matter. And that's, I think, one of the beautiful things about amateur radio in general is that it takes away a lot of that just, when you're meeting people and stuff like that or whatever. It's just, I don't even know how to explain it. There's just no, there's no judgment. There's no anything. You're talking to people, and I think you get to know them so much better this way than if you first met somebody face to face. That's been my experience with all my all the great people that I've met here on AM. It's just it's a lot of fun, and I always appreciate you ladies coming out and having a nice chat. So I wish everybody a good evening, and thank everybody for coming. And I'm glad you enjoy my crazy little stories of I'm like the new modern age Oma Baumbach when it comes to my family, that's for sure. And we'll make it through just fine, because even if the storm tears everything apart, that's what I got my engineer for. We call it around here Kengineering, because he always finds a way to fix it. So ladies, stay safe, and thanks for another great evening here on Ladies Night. This is KC2. Love you.
Well, that was a good QSO. I enjoyed listening to it.
Well, thank you.
But hold on. I have some family members here. I didn't think there were enough ladies that are interested in ham radio. That's the first time I heard two ladies talking. Yeah, kudos to you. KCTDFD.
Well, thank you. It's one of the,
It should be me. How did I get on 3874? It's
great friends is that,
it's the perfect AM, you know what I mean?
That's,
well, are you listening on an SDR? Do you have a waterfall display? Because I could give you a demo of, drawing pictures on the waterfall if you want.
I saw it before. I was in here listening earlier. I do a lot more listening than I do talking. I was talking with somebody on 160 monitoring the frequency. I'm in here listening a lot on 85 or here. So yeah, I'm using an SDR. It's nothing sophisticated. It's just an RSP, SDR. RSP1DS, RSPD. Nothing too fancy, but I like it. You know, it's funny because in a way, I mean, I've always liked the boat anchor. I like my boat anchor receivers.
To join in, if you can, any way you can. 'Cause, the more the merrier. So have a good evening. It's KC2UFU signing off for Ladies Night 6.0, and I hope to hear and everybody on August 15th, and hope the rest of you will come out and join us. And have a good evening. 7-3.